For the past 30 days, I have a simple goal of finding the perfect amount of sleep. I want to feel fresh every day when I wake up in the morning.
Wake up, cousin! We're going to the zoo!
Living in the era of hustle culture and implosion, sleep became the least in a priority for most of us.
你怎么睡得着的？
Yet we spend almost 1/3 of our lifetime sleeping on our bed. Sleep is much more than just lying down and doing nothing. It's the process of learning, decluttering, and recalibrating.
If you have good sleep, it increases your concentration, attention, decision-making, creativity, social skills, health.
Sleep is a non-negotiable biological necessity.
That's why I started wondering, how much sleep do I actually need? After 30 days of trial and error, I think I found something. Okay, so today is the first day of the challenge. So I just finished my breakfast, dressing up. What I'm planning to do for the next 2 days is to find my natural sleeping schedule. So without setting an alarm, how long would I sleep? Like unconsciously, I feel like 8 hours is the perfect time. So I have to get to 8 hours of sleep. And as soon as I below 8 hours, I feel like I'm not doing a great job. Although the average sleep recommendation is 7 to 8 hours, that doesn't mean it's a perfect amount of sleep for everyone.
Healthy sleep can range from 6 hours, maybe slightly less than that, out to 10 or 11 hours.
That's why some people require 10 hours sleep, yet some only require less than 7 hours of sleep every day.
Man, I can go off for 3-4 hours. Really? Yeah.
Later on, I did realize I missed a couple of vital parts, but I will get back to it later. I will take the average from the past 2 days, tweak around my schedule accordingly throughout the weeks and see if I can find a perfect balance. So last night I slept for 7 hours and 20 minutes. I felt great. So I woke up naturally, even before alarm. I'm gonna try this again tonight and see if 7 hours and 20 minutes with 30 minutes would be a sweet spot for me and see how things go. After 2 weeks of adjusting my sleeping schedule, I'm slowly finalizing the amount of sleep to around 7 hours and 30 minutes. Well, but here's the catch. As part of the inflow generation, for the first 15 days, I worked until 10 to 11 and slept around 1 to 2 o'clock. All I did was like set up alarm precisely at 7 hours and 30 minutes. Over time, I felt like I was getting weaker and weaker, and I didn't know why. Not until I went to my pre-surgery health check for my ACL. My doctor asked me if I lack of sleep or have high stress recently because my blood pressure was pretty high. I was like, no way. I worked out, ate well, and I got 7 hours and 30 minutes of sleep. I'm fine. But sooner, I did realize something is wrong. While driving to cameras to make videos about Nero and Felix, I vividly remember I had to open the window during the drive because I had shortness of breath. Another day, I felt like my heart was beating so fast before going to bed and I just couldn't calm down. As I mentioned yesterday, I have an extremely bad day, my heart beating so fast and just really concerning, really. So here are just some examples that the numbers that I used to get. So this is the upper is 133 and the lower is 83, which is pretty high. Well, for those of you who not too sure how to read the blood pressure, the upper number, if you're at home, you're well relaxed, your number should be below 120. The lower number should be below 80, which is, in this case, is fine. At the beginning, when I first talked to my doctor, we tried it like 4 times in his office. It's all above like 140. That's why he like concerned about my health. That was definitely a wake-up call for me. My first mistakes were thinking it doesn't matter when do I go to bed as long as I get enough of sleep. However, when we go to bed actually depends on my chronotype and everyone is different. My schedule probably wouldn't apply to yours. That's why some people are early bird and some people are night owls because everyone is different. Everyone has an internal clock, a body clock to tell us when do we go to bed and when do we wake up.
Why would it be important to know what your chronotype is? Here's where it gets fascinating. So it turns out that our hormones actually work on a very predictable schedule. but our schedules are based on our chronotypes. So somebody with a lion chronotype is going to have a very different hormone schedule than somebody with a wolf chronotype.
The best way for normal people to figure out their internal clock, the body clock, is by having sleep buffets during the weekends, so you can see when do you start to feel sleepy at night, and the next day, when do you actually wake up? The second mistake, I hate to say it, is drinking coffee. During my first 2 weeks of challenge, I used to drink 2 cups of coffee every day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon, or even at night. I guess that's why, despite sleep deprivation, I still felt pretty good. According to Dr. Matthew Walker, the author of Why We Sleep, drinking coffee is one of the most critical factors in sleep deprivation and is a potential health hazard.
Caffeine has what we call a half-life of 6 hours, but it has a quarter life of 12 hours. In other words, if you have a cup of coffee at noon, then a quarter of that caffeine is still in your brain at midnight. A cup of coffee at midday is the equivalent of tucking yourself into bed, and just before you turn the light out, you swig a quarter of a cup of caffeine or a cup of coffee, and you hope for a good night of sleep.
Well, that's why I decided to make some changes. Let me set up my camera first. First is readjusting my bedtime according to my body clock. When do I wake up the next day without the influence of social medias, caffeine, or overworking from last night? Second, I only drink 1 cup of coffee per day. Since the effect of the caffeine will last for hours and potentially delay our body clock, I will only drink my coffee in the morning. Well, third, it's so common, everybody talks about it, and I mentioned it 1 year ago as well, but stop using your electronic device an hour before bed. According to the recent study, the reason why we should stop using electronic device an hour before bed is not because of the lights, the blue lights, the warm lights, but because of the alerting effect. Constantly scrolling through our phones make our brains harder to switch to sleeping mode because we always looking for new information. Well, as conclusion, it delays our sleeping time and our overall sleep quality. After 2 weeks of adjusting, I switched my bedtime from 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock to 12:30. My sleep duration also increased from 7.5 hours to 8.5 hours. Quitting coffee is definitely not an easy task for me, but it kind of gave me the reality check that how tired my body actually was. But one thing that really made a difference is spend 30 minutes reading and another 30 minutes with my cat. Usually after reading 1 chapter or 2, I would get sleepy and I'm just ready for bed. Obviously, not everyone have the privilege to sleep however they want, especially for young parents, students, young people, and night owls. They're at the extremely disadvantage of getting enough sleep. So here are some practical and scientific advice that help you to build your optimal sleeping schedule. After 30 days of experimenting, researching, studying, by no means I became a sleep expert, but my body is definitely telling me I'm on the right track. After this 30 days is not just about my sleeping habit, but also my health. I think this number, I'm able to get like below 120 for the upper number consistently for the past couple days. Yeah, it's really rewarding.